Hello, welcome back to my channel, Chess Capture Threats. Today's video is episode 93 of the chess guide, how to play with less space. So, we've had to play with open space, we've had, some similar things to this, and everything about setting rating goals and that. So now we're just going to talk about hopefully the opposite of the open space and how you can play in closed positions. And hopefully we can try and get you into a position where if you're stuck in positions like this and this, where it's quite crammed in, and obviously white here has more space in both of these, we can see how we can play against this and how we can even try and gain advantages. So, this example here is from the French defense advanced variation, because I've obviously pushed here, and in this one it is the semi-Slav, which we just went over yesterday. So, let's just go through this position here and let's just see what's happening. So if we look at the piece development, we have actually developed more pieces, I would say here, obviously because this knight hasn't been developed, though this pawn here has been pushed before this knight and has now obviously caused a bit of pressure onto the f5. Also, as they've moved this bishop just recently, this last move should I say, they've actually now got pressure on this pawn, forcing a move like this soon, maybe even up to here. Also, they have got castled and we haven't yet, but that's very obvious and easy to do for us. There's a few attacks like this, c4, obviously as we said take, they can even try and go aggressive at some later point. And we obviously know that they're going to bring the knight out here and probably try and get here, or even just use it as a defensive piece later on. Now, what about black? Now, obviously, it's a bit of a close position, so our bishop is blocked in, but so is theirs. This one is very much blocked in, as it only has one square at the minute. This is their good bishop and freely able to move, mostly. And our pawns are a lot worse than theirs, I'd say. We've got a good defense here, but other than that, this Maroczy bind here that they've got here is very strong and very difficult to actually go against here, as they just contain so much of these black squares. So if we could take the white squares, they could take the black squares. As they have more pawns, they're easily able to push into the white squares here. And obviously their rooks are a little bit more active with this f-pawn push, as we cannot push ours, otherwise we're going to completely open the king side now, and it's way too late. So, how can we actually do this? So the first thing is deny any threats that they're already putting on you. So obviously, as we do in the French, queen b6 is a very solid move, as we're protecting this pawn here. Obviously, now if they take, this is actually worse for them here, as now they're going to have a lost bishop here, our bad bishop for their bad bishop, which is fine, but they've traded off some incredibly useful pawns here, so we can now push to d4 at a later stage, and it allows us to now castle freely as well after, because they have to move their king. So, they have that, and then after that, we also are attacking b2, which actually there's not that many good moves for white here. In my opinion, I think queen c2 is one of the better moves here, but the only reason I'm saying that is because they've got to protect this and I want them to get the knight out. It might not be the best, but I still think for white that would be good. Now we can cause a few more issues here. Now we can even more close up the space and play c4 here, and that force the bishop back. But is that good? Opens the queen up. Maybe not as much as we want, because it doesn't make this bishop any better. So, as I said here, let's look ahead. Now, we have two options here. In my opinion, either is fine. It depends how quickly you want to work on an attack. And in my opinion, I would say you want to work quicker here, because we know we can castle. Castling is very easy to do here. There is no attack right now. This is the only move they're threatening, which we could take. They can technically play, but we can always just escape really quickly, and even go up to here if we have to, and cause some little bit of drama here. Now, what I do say is rook c8 here is somehow, well not somehow, but it's a very strong move because of this rook c2. And see how we're playing with close space, but we're looking when it's opened, because we know we can easily open this position very quickly. So now, for example, they get their knight out. This could be quite difficult for them. As we take, for example, if they take with the bishop, we're causing threats here now. As if this opens, we've got a pin now. Stuff like that. It's very strong if we can add more pieces into the attack. it could be incredibly strong. I still think you can take here, but after this you probably want to go somewhere else now. And a very strong move, bishop c5. See how we've opened this position up a little bit, and now we're causing this. So again, they have moves they can stop it with, like this, and then you can get into some really high parts here. That's not what we're going to do. If you wanted to even go aggressive like this is actually possible, as if you take here you can play with check. So very strong moves here, but as you see, it's very funny to see how from this position here, even if we go just back a few moves, we made this position into an incredibly good one here of this. And I think it takes, you know, a lot of skill to try and work in enclosed spaces, because it's very difficult to actually do what you exactly want to, with pawns in the way, pieces in the way, and it becomes an internal struggle. Now, on the second example here, we'll just go through this one a little bit quicker, because we know it's the same sort of thing. This is on the semi-Slav, as you can see here. Our pawn structure is good, but very much behind the white pawns here. And we've got, you know, not exactly pinned anywhere. We're not losing exactly anywhere. What I'd say here is we want to continue our Slav like ideas and maybe try stuff like this. But also, I think we'd have to do stuff like try and open the position as quick as you can. You know, the quicker you do this, the quicker you move the pieces away here, you know, the more that they're going to run away. The more that, now look at this, now we've got a bishop that has this whole file to itself, and they're going to have to play moves like this, which is pushing pawns that are good, but they're doing it very quickly already, you know, so gives us a lot of time to, you know, try and attack more pieces, even try and push against it, and anything like that, start creating pins. And the main tip here, I'd like to say, just before we finish the video, is even though you're in a closed position, you're not always working defensive. You're always, you know, offensive, you're defensive. It's both sides of the game here, because a closed position doesn't automatically mean you have to defend your position. As we saw in here, we immediately attacked this pawn and was protecting here. We did a both offensive attack and a defensive one. And after that, we went aggressive. We attacked their queen here, and they're the ones that are playing defensive, even with all the open space. So it doesn't necessarily mean the closer the space, the more you have to defend. That doesn't entirely imply in this situation. But anyway, this is it for today's video. So hopefully you've learned a little bit about that. Again, it's not always, you know, exact positions that you might have in your game. So as long as you use this as a little like part into it, maybe just take a little bits of stuff like this and then try and implement them into your games. Hopefully they should be able to work later on. So thank you, and bye bye.